Alright, hello everyone. We are Group 2. Today we're going to be talking about Pandora, the music streaming website. I'm sure everyone has heard of it. Everyone has probably used it sometime in the past. Today we're going to be talking about really just kind of how song choices and your information on there actually might be public or private. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit. We're going to talk about how that could be a threat for Pandora, technically how they could lose customers. Going down that path, making their information and your songs public. We're also going to be talking about how Pandora makes money, so how they function on a day-to-day basis. We're also going to take a look at their stock price and use an example of if we invested $1 million, so that will be further down in the presentation. And then finally, we're going to look at some competitors and some major threats that Pandora faces every single day. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, first off, we're going to take a look at what Pandora is. Of course, Pandora is a music streaming and automated music recommendation internet radio service. I know when I first started getting like iPods and smartphones, this was one of the first music streaming apps that I used. Mostly because my friends used it and also my parents used it too, and also a big thing was because it was free with just some mild ads in between every now and then. Looking at their website right here that I'm actually on my other screen, they say Pandora is a hand-curated listening experience. It's uniquely yours. It's powered by the Music Genome Project, which is just something that they use. It basically enables Pandora to respond to taste and tailor each station to you, so they can really pick out their songs that you would like and then hopefully recommend some new ones for you. They have a team of musicologists who listen to music all the time. That is one of their full-time jobs there. So they're basically hand listening to this music and picking it out and making sure that it is verified and good enough for Pandora. It was founded in January 2000. Right now it has around 71.4 million active listeners. And it has around 6 million subscribers too. So those are just paying people who actually use for their service, and then we'll look at that later, so we'll break down those prices too as well. Alright, so up next we're going to kind of be answering the big question that this whole project is kind of trying to answer. Basically, we're going to be looking at is if information like your favorite music and everything, does Pandora have the right to make that information public, or should they keep it private? So we think basically right now the music selection is public. So that means basically anyone with your email, they can look at your profile, they can look at your favorite music, they can look at your favorite bands, your music genres. They can also see your radio stations too, and like your past played songs, stuff like that. They can see when you were on. They can also see when you're online too and see exactly what you're listening to right at that moment. So basically, I mean, technically, Pandora and other streaming music sites have the right to do that. You are signing up for their service. So you are kind of letting yourself just kind of go right there. But then that also asks the question that we're going to be looking at next slide is this dangerous having information public like that? You know, some people think, well, it's just music. You know, not really anyone can really pull anything dirty from me just from music and stuff, and no one can really harm me with music. But the next slide we're actually going to be looking at an example that basically can show you just some unethical examples on how people with your information, just like your music, can actually use that to harass you and harm you and stuff. So that'll be the next slide coming up here. Okay, so let's actually look at an example here. So this is according to USA Today, and we're actually going to be looking at it through Spotify. So it's not technically Pandora, but Spotify and Pandora, they're both music and radio streaming services. They also have very similar privacy policies, so you can basically see the exact same thing. Since Spotify is a little bit more used today, this is a more current example. So basically, a 26-year-old Boston woman, she was harassed by her ex-boyfriend through Spotify. So after they broke up, they must have had a pretty rough breakup. You know, she basically blocked him on other social media sites, and then of course, you know, didn't really think that, you know, you really needed to check Spotify because that's not really something that someone thinks about when like doing stalking or harassing. But basically, the ex-boyfriend, you know, were friends with her on Spotify. Basically, could monitor her music activity. They could see when she was on. And basically, you know, he thought that based on her song choices, you know, it was proof that, you know, she wanted to get back together with him. And, you know, it was just constant harassing. And basically, he would just call her every single day. make contact with her and just say, I know you want to get back together with me, just because based on your song choices. So it's kind of creepy, actually, just to kind of think that people are finding new ways to kind of harass people. So that's kind of one unethical use of using this information. And maybe, Spotify and Pandora didn't really think about this when they were making this. I don't think they really thought an extreme example like this would happen. But it did. And when Spotify responded to this, they said they didn't really have any plans to make any profiles private. And they said it wasn't really in their scope, and they said it wasn't possible right now. So who knows if that's going to get fixed in the future. But that's, this is one of the examples and kind of how an extreme is actually used. So now we're going to look at if this is actually harmful to Pandora and other streaming services, how they say that, they don't really want to make people's information private. So that'll be the next slide. Alright, so like I said, is this really a threat for Pandora and the future of its business? Technically, yes. In today's day and age, consumers really value privacy. With all the stuff with Facebook using information and basically every social media site having access to your info and selling it to other people, consumers today, especially me, really take our privacy into consideration. So even something as simple as song preferences should have the ability to be protected. It should just have the peace of mind knowing that I can turn on a setting and have my thing private, or just have it, only for friends, or just something where not everyone has access to it if they know my name or my email or something. So technically this could also be a threat if other streaming services find a way first. So I know Spotify, with that last example, was in the news just because someone really harassed someone else for using their service and finding info about them. So that might trigger something in Spotify to really, crack down on finding a way to make sure that customers have privacy. Example, as well as SoundCloud. If any one of these streaming services finds a way to do it first, Pandora could lose a lot of customers if they don't hop on it. And technically, Pandora is already slowly being kicked out of the market. Later in this presentation, you'll actually see just how much Pandora has fallen over the years, just because there's better new things out there. So that'll be coming up in next. But yeah, so this is really a big threat for Pandora. So obviously we can see that customers really do value their privacy, because according to digitalmusicnews.com, 2017, so just last year, Pandora lost around 8 million users in 9 months. Kind of breaking that down, that's 850,000 listeners per month that it was losing. So that's a huge decline. That's almost 1 million listeners gone every single month. So of course, investors who invested in Pandora did not take to that kindly and did not think Pandora was really living up. So a lot of them pulled out and stuff. And because of that, one day, technically, Wall Street had the stock down 26%. And you'll see that later in our presentation, like I said, too, with the whole would we invest $1 million. You can actually see how much money you would lose if you put a lot of faith into this company. And it really shows just how times have changed, because, this was a big dog like 3 or 4 years ago. Not a lot of people really saw it going anywhere, and now kind of according to like our generation, Pandora is kind of like it's the old thing, not a lot of people use it. It's more for like adults, for like grandparents and stuff. A lot of people our age, so like 20, 25, we all like Spotify and stuff. So it just really shows how you really have to stay on top of things, or else you will slowly just get kicked out. And especially with all the digital age and all technology, you got to always keep innovating, or else someone is just around the corner to take your place. And with this example, you can really see how that really happens. Okay, so technically, like I said, ensuring privacy is kind of what this whole presentation is about, and just how streaming services can really, hone in on that and try to win that market. So technically, Pandora does sort of have an option to make your profile private. I had to do a little bit of research for this, a couple forums, a couple Reddit posts. basically kind of talking about how to really make the profile private. And there's a couple different steps, but you can kind of cheat it too. So a lot of people recommend disconnecting Pandora from your social media, like Facebook. So you can just connect your Facebook if you wanted to do like a fast login. But people say don't always go through your Facebook, or it might be a couple extra steps, but you can always use a Facebook profile. So that way it's not linked to any of your friends or your family, and then hopefully, if they really want to try to track you down, they'll have a harder time finding you. They also say to turn off your notifications just for the Pandora as well. So in your phone, just turn them off. That way you're not getting a whole bunch of emails, notifications, stuff isn't popping up on your phone. That way, in case, if anyone steals your phone, or if a friend has access to your phone when you're away doing something, they can't just, click on a notification, pull up your Pandora, see all your information, write it down or something. And if you're ever going to use Pandora on a public computer, which I personally don't recommend, so like a library, a friend's computer, maybe at school too. So here at Ferris, if you're in their computer lab and you want to pull up your Pandora or something, make sure you always log out of your account. If you're ever using a public computer, you don't accidentally want to leave that logged in. So the next person comes by, sits down, sees your history, sees your information, they write it down, they can just steal it as well, and they can always find you too. So I always recommend, going through a incognito browser. So Google Chrome, they have an incognito one. Even Internet Explorer has it. That way it's going to delete all your information. It's not going to save or anything. So those are just a couple steps to do to ensure privacy. But like I said, hopefully in the future, Pandora and other streaming services, they're really going to crack down. They're really going to make it easy for people to just make their profile private. And I think if any one of these companies does it first, they're really going to win back a huge part of the market. And you'll really see a shift in kind of who is using what software. Of course, it comes as no surprise. Pandora is a business and they have to make money somehow. Of course, there is the free option for Pandora. You can just sign up. And the way that they're going to make a little bit of money off of you is you're going to run ads through your radio station. So maybe every 2 or 3 songs, just going to play a little 30-second ad. You're going to get some money for that. Like me, if you hate ads, you don't want to listen to them, you just kind of want to listen uninterrupted. They do have a couple payment plans here. So they have Pandora Plus, so you can get that for $4.99 a month. So not too bad, not too expensive. Basically, that's going to be your personalized radio with no ads. So you're not going to get those ads every 2 or 3 songs. It's just going to be constant, music. You can also get unlimited personalized stations. You can also get 4 stations for offline listening. So if you're not always connected to Wi-Fi or your mobile data, you can listen to a couple of stations offline too. So that might be good if you're, in a car ride or something. You also get unlimited skips and replays. So if you have the free version, when I used to do it, I knew that you got a couple skips and replays every day or every week or however many times it refreshed. I don't know how they do it anymore. But basically, if you didn't like a song, you could skip it. Once you're out of those skips, if you had the free version, you would kind of just have to, mumble through that and just kind of either get off the app or just kind of, tough it out through that song or something. Kind of like just today's modern radio. If you don't like a song, you kind of just have to listen to it and just hope that a good song comes on. So with that paid plan, you can just, just skip. You also get higher quality audio. So of course, audio is all streamed, so it's going to be using Wi-Fi and data. So they're going to save that higher quality audio for, of course, people who pay. So you're going to get a little bit of premium sound. I don't know if you'll really be able to tell a difference. Probably not to just the normal consumer, but people who actually really want to get that higher quality audio, they might want to pay for that. And then, of course, like I said, you get the no ad listening too, so that's the big one. They also have a more expensive one, so it's called Pandora Premium. So that's $9.99 a month, so a little bit more expensive, about double. Basically, you can search and play any song, so you can find any song that they have in their big cache of songs, and you can just search it up, play it right there. You don't have to go through a whole station. You can also create playlists, so you can really fine-tune what you want to listen to. You also get the music that you want. You can download it. So like I said, if you're offline in the car or something on a car ride, you don't have to waste a whole bunch of data. So you can just download your songs when you're at home on your Wi-Fi, hop in the car, and then you got the whole playlist for offline listening. Then of course you also get those skips and replays again. too. And then of course you get that higher quality audio, and then once again you get the no ad listening. So those are just a couple different premium plans that Pandora offers, because like I said, Pandora is a business. They really need to make some money. So like I said, if you're free, they'll get some money off of you with some ads. Or if you want to be a subscriber, you can get some couple paid plans. So looking at that question that I asked a little earlier into the presentation of would we invest in Pandora? Heck no. We would not invest in Pandora. Their stock is doing terrible. In February 2014, the stock was $36. It was looking good. If we invested $1 million, we could purchase 27,000 shares right then and there. November 2018, so about 4 years later, the stock has dropped all the way to $8.67. So right now, that stock is worth about $240,000. So we technically just lost a lot of money in 4 years, as you can see in the red right down there. It's a $760,000 loss. So I would not invest in Pandora. I don't see their stock coming back anytime soon, if at all. I would say they are pretty much done, and maybe they'll float around $10 or $12 if they turn something around. They'll have to make a huge drastic change if they really want to get back up to the 36, but I can confidently say I probably do not see that happening, just with the current trend that is going on, and with all the new streaming services and different streaming services like Spotify that are really just taking over and kind of just slowly kicking Pandora out. I kind of forgot about Pandora until it was brought up in this project. Once again, just looking through Google and Googling information about Pandora, all the articles are really old. Only a couple of them are from 2017. Really hard to find one from 2018. A lot of them are from 2012, 2014. So Pandora is kind of a thing in the past. Like I said earlier, not a lot of people use it. So I would not invest in Pandora. Alright, and then lastly, the major threats to Pandora. Like I said a lot in this presentation, Spotify, that is the huge kind of contender right now. It was, of course, a music streaming platform launched October 7th, 2008, and it currently has around 83 million paying subscribers worldwide. If everyone remembers from the beginning of this PowerPoint, Pandora has around 6 to 8 million, so that's a huge difference right there. You can really see just how strong Spotify has the market really in its hands, and it can really do whatever it wants. So, of course, top Spotify artists right now, Drake, 47.3 million monthly listeners. Selena Gomez, 45.8 million monthly listeners. Then Calvin Harris sits around 42.2 million monthly listeners. So these guys are getting a ton of monthly listeners. And it just really shows just the big dog right now on Spotify. And like I said, if Spotify can really get that privacy setting really honed in, make it easy for its consumers, really advertise that it really cares about the privacy of its customers, I can see Spotify taking a huge leap and really taking over this market. Maybe it's going to be a far shot if Pandora picks it up and will really, sell that privacy and try to really advertise that it really does care about its customers and just makes a huge change, a complete 360. It might come back, but like I said, right now Pandora is kind of a thing in the past, and Spotify really can really do whatever they want to Pandora and slowly or even quickly kick them out of the market if they really wanted to. So that about wraps things up with our presentation on Pandora. We kind of looked at, what Pandora is, what its stock is looking like, kind of how it could be public or private information. So hopefully you guys learned a lot about this. Once again, we are Group 2. Of course, if you ever want to rewatch this back, you can just find it on the Blackboard page. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you with our next presentation.